Okay, let's do handstand push-up live. I haven't done any type of warm-up whatsoever. I've literally just come off my computer doing my client feedback. So let's do a warm-up. No real plans for today apart from I'm going to do handstand push-up stuff. I'll answer any questions that come on as well. So not a major session. So my right shoulder has been a little bit sore. I've been pushing the training a lot recently and my shoulder hasn't been too happy. So let's see how that feels. So in terms of warm-up for handstand push-ups, I tend to do lots of these, so pipe push-up variations. Now, because I can do the more advanced handstand push-up variations, pipe push-ups are relatively easy. Obviously, if you're newer to handstand push-ups and pipe push-ups are hard, you can't do 3 to 5 repetitions, then don't do those as your warm-up. Do something else, dips, standard push-ups, that type of thing. Just get lots of blood in the shoulders. Because we're doing freestanding handstand push-ups, we need to also warm up our balance. So I need to make sure that that's happy. And like I say, because I'm not warmed up mobility-wise at all, I'm going to make sure that I prioritize balance and not position. So look, bendy arms, bendy legs, legs are apart, but the base is doing the balance. So shoulders, focal point, making sure that that's all switched on and not prioritizing dead straight line, that type of thing. So decent hold time, make sure that feels okay. And then hopefully I can rest. And there's a couple of questions. How much do I weigh? I'm trying to lose weight at the moment. I'm currently like bang on 80 kilos. So over Christmas and stuff, I went up to 83 kilos, which at my height, so I'm like 169 centimeters, is too much. Well, I think it's too much for my body. As soon as I got like over 40, so much harder to maintain a decent body weight. And also my training has flipped quite a bit, or not flipped, because I work 100% from home now, or 99% from home. I'm not on my feet, not doing as many face-to-face clients. I'm not as active as I was. So those things together meant I put on a little bit of weight. So now trying to lose it, 79, 80 kilos. Okay, let's do another push-up variation. So now I'm just going to play with a little bit of partial range. So again, just exploring the freestanding balance while warming up the handstand push-ups. So a little bit wider with the hands, and then I'm going to bend the arms, take the feet backwards. So notice the triangle that I'm going down towards, the head is coming forwards, elbows down top of hands, feet have come back, and then back to the stacked position, and same on the way back down. For a few repetitions there, just exploring how that feels, that type of depth. Obviously, it's a little bit harder holding a conversation as well. So you're getting shoulder pain going down, or I'm getting shoulder pain? So my shoulder just feels a bit clunky. I don't know if you were talking about what I was talking about at the start of the live, where I said my shoulders have been a bit unhappy. Normally once I warm up, okay, I can't feel my shoulder at all. It's just normally when I'm cold and I try and do something. If I try to go straight into like a deficit handstand push-up, I'll definitely feel it. If you're feeling pain when you do a movement, obviously we want to try and find out why there's pain, but the biggest thing you can do is try and create a little bit more space. So take the hands a little bit wider, bend the arms a little bit earlier, make sure your positions are correct and your elbows aren't flaring out to the side. We never want to be pushing in this type of position. We want to make sure we're open. You've got a good triangle when you go down, and then drop back to an easier progression. That's probably the easiest way to do it, is go back to something slightly easier, do more repetitions there. Okay, so no pressure rep-wise now. I'm just going to see if I can get a clean handstand push-up, maybe 2 to 3 reps, just see how that feels. So head lightly kissing floor. So I feel warmed up to do these now. So nice straight position at the top, shoulders come forwards, feet come back, elbows come in. So external rotation, back, push out at the top, show control. So let's do 3 of those. Yeah, shoulder feels okay. Okay, any other training questions? I need more questions so I can rest longer. Okay, triangle. So basically the triangle is the head and the hands. So, you know, if you do a barbell press, so I've got a barbell in front of me here, I'll come down to this position. So my head and my hands make a triangle. Now, when you come into like a front rack position, the triangles will be quite narrow. But when we come down to a floor handstand push-up, we're at this position there. So the head and the hands is the triangle. So exactly the same in the pike push-up, in the handstand push-up, in the shoulder stand. We want our head and shoulders to go forwards and our feet to go backwards. That's created the triangle. So it's like a headstand, tripod position there. So that's where we want to be aiming to come down to in our handstand push-up. So a strong triangle position is very strong shape-wise, and it will make handstand push-ups, pike push-ups, and all of those things much, much easier. Arching back while going back up. Yeah, so when you push your repetitions, it's totally normal to arch your back on the way back up. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. It's a good way of getting concentric repetitions, but we want to try and be working some cleaner reps as well. So you want to take the exercise backward progression to make sure you're getting the clean reps where you're not arching, whatever variation that is. But when we're learning and we're pushing the progressions, arching on the concentric to get up is fine. But a good way to do it, if you are arching, so say I have a clean eccentric, which is a great way of doing it, clean down, straight body, arch on the way back up. We just need to make sure we reset. So if I come down through a clean eccentric, so no arching, now at this position, I arch to get back out of the position, which is fine. Now we don't want to stay in the arch position here, because if I stay in the arch position now and I layer another rep on top of that, I'm more than likely going to lose balance and fall down, or my position is just going to get really heavy because the arch is going to get worse and worse the more repetitions I do. Well, you're better off doing a slow, controlled eccentric with clean technique, arch on the way back up, but now at the top, I get back to my clean position and do another eccentric. So your concentric might have an arch, but your eccentric should always, as best you can, try and be as clean as possible, or at least not get worse. So we don't want to get an arch position that we progressively stack bad technique on top of, because you'll just get worse and worse and worse. How to do planche press. Oh no, how to do planche. Please tell me some basic exercise. So we just need to strengthen the scapula. So for the upper back, shoulders, you want to make sure that you can push out into a rounded upper back position. So making sure that you can hold this position. So if you imagine that you're going to push a car, so if I'm going to push my car now like this, I'm going to round my back. That's a strong position. I'm not going to retract or drop through the scapula because you'd feel really weak. We want to make sure that we're pushing in that rounded back position, exactly the same when we're doing the planche. So now I'm going to push the floor away. So see that rounded upper back. So practicing holding this and making sure you can dome in that position is really, really important. We can then layer on top something like a planche lean. So again, focusing on that planche, in terms of the rounded up back position and taking the shoulders slightly forwards. You don't want to take the shoulders way too far forwards and start to collapse. And then the next progression what you need to start thinking about is getting into a real tight tuck position. So the more you can get into a tight tuck, the easier it's going to be to get your toes off on those more beginner intermediate positions for a planche. But we're going to start to see if we can push up in that position and then eventually lift the feet up and be in that position. But it's all around making sure your scapula is really rounded, and pushed out and strong and conditioned. How do you find how much lean you need to control the lowering of the handstand push-up? You just want to play around with positions. Now, the challenge is it depends whether you're doing back to wall, chest to wall, or freestanding handstand push-ups, because you're going to tend to go towards the assistance. So if you're doing back to wall, you might have a bent leg, foot on the wall. You're going to tend to arch towards the wall, and your position is probably going to be a bit more upright. Then when we go in chest to wall, you're going to go more incline, and you're going to, again, rely on the wall too much, but it's going to take in the opposite direction, and you're going to start to have the angle too much. However, when we go freestanding, it's about finding the sweet spot in your strength and your balance, and that will dictate how much your shoulders come forwards, how much your feet come backwards. So it's really about fine-tuning it. Most people look roughly the same. So eccentrics is probably one of the best way to do it. So once you've got a strong enough freestanding handstand, is to do some slow eccentrics, and you'll sort of find your sweet spot where you can hold balance and come down as slow as possible, and you'll find like a nice angle that you're comfortable with. But it will take a little bit of refinement, and it is dependent on how well you're balanced. You can do back to wall variations and have 1 foot bent, which is a cool way of getting close to the freestanding. So I'm here. So my right leg is staying in line with my body for my balanced handstand push-up. But if I need to, I can have my toe on the wall. So you can see that's just giving me a little bit of assistance. That's probably the best way to fine-tune the handstand push-up position. The risk is with back to wall, though, that you do arch too much. So you sort of have to be quite strict on that. Doing bent arm pike press for handstand push-up. Yeah, pike push-ups, fantastic. If you're doing pike press where you're lifting the feet as well, that's really cool. You will engage the hips a lot, though you make that part of the movement. So the pike press bent arm version. So you're using this type of position here, and then your feet come off the floor, and then you could go up and back down again. So it can just become quite whippy with the hip as you come up, but it's very similar to doing like crow to handstand as well. So really good ways of getting you up fast, using a bit of overbalance, a bit of that momentum to take you up, like the whip of the legs. It's a bit like CrossFitters use the kip, bringing the knees to the chest and then extending the legs as they push with that timing right. So, used in the right way, they can really help. And it's a cool way of starting to play with freestanding. You just got to be careful that the whip in the hip, the movement in the legs isn't helping too much. So you don't want to have too much momentum created. Also, when doing pike push-ups, should the legs remain dead straight, knees remain locked out? And how close should your feet be to your hands? Is there a rule of thumb to follow to know? No, because everyone's flexibility, limb length, and that is different. So the main thing to prioritize is the angle of the torso and making sure that the shoulders, the arms are doing all the work, or 90% of the work, and then the feet are just assisting you. So if you're not so flexible in the handstands, in the forward fold position or in the hamstrings, you're going to have to bend the knees a little bit just to get your hands down onto the floor and actually do a pike push-up. You'll need to bend the knees just to create enough space. If you've got very good hamstring flexibility, you're obviously going to be able to take your hands closer to your feet, and you can play with the angles a little bit more without being limited by the range of motion. But what's normally the case is that if you're more flexible, you're not so strong, and vice versa. So the more flexible person can actually stack their body more,
which is harder from a strength point of view. So you have to be a little bit careful. So having more flexibility is not always a good thing in terms of progression towards the handstand push-up, unless you've got good flexibility and good strength, which would be the ideal. And then you've got no limitations. And also, if you start to raise your hands up, start working to a deficit, or raise your feet up, then that's going to change all the angles and how much flexibility and stuff you need. So you have to be a little bit careful with all of those things. I hit the 1 minute mark on my headstand recently. I have developed the understanding of inversions as well as having decent pressing strength. What's the next step? Wall handstands or more pike push-ups? I would be prioritizing your handstand balance across the board. And if all of you guys want to get handstand push-ups freestanding, I would highly recommend that you, again, emphasize, prioritize your handstand balance, and then put on top your strength. So handstand balance first, and then ideally be doing strength work on top of that. So a little bit of handstand balance every day, and then 2 to 4 times per week, some pike push-ups, press handstand push-ups and stuff like that. But most people will not have a strong enough balance in their handstand, even if they're strong enough in the handstand push-up or press handstand even. They could always have more balance. So I would highly recommend you prioritize that. Okay, I'm going to go to a slight deficit now with my handstand push-up. I am limited a little bit by ceiling height. What should I use? Is that step? Okay, that's all packed away. Let's use weight plates. So fantastic way of slowly increasing the range of motion, whether it's pike push-ups, standard handstand push-ups. So I've got some 10 kilo bumper plates. So it's just going to be a slight increase in range of motion. So there. So angle's not going to change that much. So when I come down, head kiss there, Rosie kiss as well. Let's just do, no Rosie, get out. This is not going to work. She's going to lick my face as I go down. Okay, I'll go up higher on the next one. Is there a general guidance of hamstring flexibility when training handstands, specifically if the goal is a bent arm pike press? No, I would just keep increasing both. Obviously, you need to prioritize the flexibility that you need the most. So, if you can't touch your toes, then hamstring flexibility is a major thing that you need to prioritize. If you've got decent hamstring flexibility, you probably want to start prioritizing like the seated straddle position. So like straddle good mornings, that type of thing. So you've got to be like self-assess, work out what your goals are, and then work out what's your weakest link that you need to start to hit. But there's no minimum. Obviously, if you can get your hands past if this is really comfortable for you, so if you can get palms to the floor really comfortably, then you've easily got enough flexibility to press handstand push-up. But if you increase your straddle, like your seated straddle, that's only going to help you make things more efficient. Rosie, on your bed. On your bed. Okay, let's grab another 10 kilo plate. So I'm still not going to be at full deficit with two 10s. And now, Rosie's so much dog hair. Okay, same idea, just slightly lower. Okay, any other questions? I can't stay on too long today, so if there's anything you definitely want to ask, ask away now. I normally go on, well, my plan was to go on earlier on a Friday, but I'm trying to hit different times as well because I want to go on at the same time for the time zones and stuff. So I'm not sure if this is the best time. I also have to get ready and get to the school to pick the kids up. But let's have a look now what this means in terms of depth. So with the handstand push-ups, you want to be aiming to get to a deficit position where you don't touch your head to the floor and you go to like a standard shoulder stand type position. So this is going to be close to it for me. So yeah, look, my head's still just touching the floor. I actually need to be slightly higher. So I'm going to put a little bit more on there to make sure that I have that height. But I actually don't have any more. I'm just going to have to go big, put the 20s on top. So this will make sure that I've got the full deficit position and my head doesn't touch the floor. I just have to be careful with the clearance here. There's too much. Okay, I think that'll work. Have I been saved with some questions though, so I get a longer rest? How can I prevent legs coming forwards while coming down? Forwards as in towards underbalance. That just means that you're doing this too much. So, or your shoulder isn't coming forwards far enough. So if you video yourself from the side, you should be able to see, like, are you balanced as you come down? So your slow eccentrics should feel that you could pause at any point. So if you're collapsing as you come down, then you need to work on trying to hold a little bit more overbalance. And you could even arch the body a little bit to try and keep in that direction. But it depends how fast and how hard you're coming down and what does the triangle look like. Does it look like you're taking your shoulders way too far forwards? And you got to remember as well is most people are happier to come down under balance because they're coming down to their feet than over balance. So you will tend to hug that, especially if your balance isn't great. Have you seen those guys doing weighted handstand push-ups? I think the world record is 50 or 70 kilos. Yeah, I played with it. I was doing deficit with a 20-kilo weight vest, and I hurt my shoulder doing it. And I've said I'm not going to play with it anymore. Again, because I saw other people doing it, like on Instagram and stuff, and I was interested to know how much I could get, and putting a weight vest and stuff on. But I found that it didn't take me towards my goals. It was more just to go, oh, how strong am I in the handstand push-up? More so for like social media and stuff. So I was sensible and said I'm not going to do that again. And I don't program weighted handstand push-ups for that reason. I think you don't need it for handstand push-ups. Like I've hit my main goals is to get like a dead press 90-degree handstand push-up reps and stuff like that. And I think there's way safer ways to train towards that. But if your goal is to do weighted exercise, then that's ideally for you. You should be doing that. But obviously you just need to do it very carefully and make sure that your body's conditioned to slowly increase in load. But super impressive and cool to watch. But I won't be participating, too old for that now. How to increase handstand holding time. So balance window. So make sure that you become an expert at back to wall and chest to wall handstand pulls from the wall. So under balance and over balance. If you just type my name in and type handstand balance in on YouTube, I've got plenty of videos on there that explain handstand balance and how to do it. The cool thing is it's super simple. The hard thing is it needs lots and lots of repetition and practice of the same thing over and over again. You will notice that anyone teaching handstands at a decent level, in terms of beginners, will all use exactly the same exercises. The heel pulls and the toe pulls, the back to wall and the chest to wall pulls from the wall. everyone is teaching with those 2 drills because it's so simple. All the other fancy stuff and the tricks and stuff you see on Instagram are cool for, having a play, but it's just basically just doing lots of heel pulls and toe pulls. Okay, let's get a handstand push up on here. Raise your back on your bed. Come in. Up on it. Hopefully that noise is not going to stay around. Okay, not sure how many of these I'm going to get. So toes are touching. That wasn't clean. What was that one? So 2 reps, not very clean. But you get the idea in terms of deficit. On a good day, I can get 4 to 5 of those. Okay, correct way to push the body up from a bottom position. So you need to work out what intensity it is. So in terms of intensity, how many repetitions. So if you're on your 1 rep max, your body's going to be arched and banana and get yourself up. If you're learning a freestanding version, you might pick something like a Croda handstand, which sort of demands more of a banana type idea as you go up. So if I'm in a crow position, I might arch the body up and then push, but I'm helping myself up using like the rolling technique to lean in towards the underbalance, or sorry, the overbalance to scoop me out of the position. If I'm got more repetitions and my balance is better, we want to be coming down with a very clean angle and coming back up with exactly the same angle. So they're the 2 extremes. You've got to work out where you are. Ideally, you would be working a progression for repetitions that you can do clean reps, like 4 to 5 repetitions. And then you'll also be working some like 1 rep max, 2 rep max, whether that's 1 or 2 rep max because of the balance or the strength will make a difference. But they're not going to look so clean and they're going to look a bit uglier on the way back up, and you might use a slightly different technique. So like I say, it depends on which variations you're working and how advanced you are in the balance and the strength. If one is specializing in handstand push-up work, is there any merit in doing some horizontal pressing? Yes and no, but I'd be doing like, you've got so much work you can do in the calisthenics realm. It depends, whether you're talking about horizontal pressing from, in the gym environment, like bench press, that type of thing. Or ideally, what I would be doing is more calisthenics. So push-up type variations, planche push-ups, that type of thing. So things where your chest is facing the floor. I'd try and stick more towards calisthenics, but again, it all depends on what your background is and where your strength is. So if you're really lacking strength, doing some dumbbell pressing or something like that is really beneficial to build up strength quicker. But you got to be careful that you don't just do that all the time, because this movement is open chain. I'm moving my hands, keeping my body still, where a handstand push-up or a push-up on the floor is closed chain. I keep my hands still and my torso moves up and down. So it depends a little bit on what you're doing. Okay, let's get another couple of reps on these deficits. Okay, I had a big mistake on that 3rd rep. Went down really fast, caught, but because my balance is so good, I could compose myself and push back up. Again, not super clean, but I got an extra repetition. Okay, there's building work going on outside, so I'm not going to continue the live too much longer. So if there's anything else we want to ask, goal is to do these weekly. So if you do have any questions, make sure you ask them now. If not, I'll be on in a week's time. Message me. I'll put a community post up actually, and make sure I keep doing that each week. So if you can't be on live, you can ask the questions in there, and then I'll run through those questions as part of the live. I'll try and get back to doing that. I used to do that. It's just juggling time and stuff. I'm still looking for a space in the UK to teach workshops in August. So if you're from the UK or know anyone who trains in the UK, ideally I'd teach at a space where obviously is set up for this style of training, but also has a bit of a community around it. So people might be interested in jumping in on that. So let me know, reach out if that's you. Ideally, I'm looking for a couple of places, but one near London would be ideal because I've got some people that want to fly in from different places in Europe. So having somewhere like central near an airport will be fantastic. How do you scale down pike push-ups? So I would start with doing things like crow transitions. So starting in a crow position, leaning forwards, taking the head down towards the floor and coming back up again. So that type of thing. You can do pike push-ups on your knees as well. So I can come into this position and push back. I can come down for an eccentric, take the knees down, push back up. So that type of thing. Obviously, you could go to a push-up or dip. So if your push-ups and dips aren't that strong, they're going to help you with this type of movement. But doing these crow transitions, fantastic as well. So bending the arms to transition up and down like this, super important to understand the body placement and the seesaw effect of getting the shoulders and the hips to move in opposite directions. Love the content, man. Thank you. I'm going into the military and definitely taking some of these training tips with me. That's awesome. It's such a cool way to train, and the cool thing is you can do it anywhere. Look, I mean, most of my videos, I have nothing, empty space. I have a dog, but apart from that, you know, we pull in bits of equipment and stuff, but you can basically train anywhere. So that's the cool thing, and it carries over to so many skills. I find it difficult to do legs up while planche. Yeah, so you can make yourself into a real tight tuck. You can use toe assist, you can use band assist. Practice those planche leans. Lots and lots of work with planche leans will get you really far. And then as you integrate the legs in as well, bringing the knees in towards the chest, you'll slowly get closer and closer to be able to lift the legs up. But video from the side, make sure it looks good in terms of the position, in terms of the shoulders, the scapula. Make sure you're externally rotating the hands, putting yourself in a really good, strong position. And that's going to set you up in the right way. Okay, let's test now. See if I can get a 90-degree handstand push-up. I'm not sure whether I will. Let's see if the shoulder allows me to. Let's cheat a little bit. So now I say cheat a little bit because I want to use a deficit. So what this allows me to do in a 90-degree handstand push-up is scoop the body a bit more. So take the shoulders and head down on either side, or take the shoulders and head down on one side as it pulls your feet up. So let me see if I can demo that as I do it. So I'm going to come head and shoulders forwards and down. So this way, here, and then dip the head and shoulders to get back out and back up. So I dip the head and shoulder down and scooped up. So it's like that arching movement to come back up. But again, trying to get the eccentric to be as clean as possible. So that actually felt right. In some ways, that 90-degree one was the same intensity as the deficit handstand push-ups I was doing before that. So that's interesting to know. You know, if you get your technique right, sometimes the progression in front is not always harder. Do pike compression lifts help you bring your legs up during tuck planche? Not really. It can help to try and bring you into a tighter ball, but it's normally flexibility. I'm not actually a big fan of training compression, especially to hit the initial goals. You'll probably find you're lacking strength in the position and you're lacking mobility, not compression. You know, if I want to try and get my torso to my thighs in a forward fold type position, I need the flexibility in the hamstrings and the calves to allow me to get my torso to my legs. But if I'm trying to force my legs to my torso and I don't have the flexibility, you know, it'll feel like I'm compressing like anything, and I'll even cramp up in my abs when I'm doing it. but it's not actually going to increase the range unless you get more flexible. So I would increase flexibility and focus on the strength. How do I stop falling from a handstand push-up? Once I press back up, I fall backwards and can't keep rigid. Yeah, so that's what you're doing. What I just done there is we're using the overbalance to help us out. But the trouble is with that is that it rolls you over and you tend to go over. So if you can, try and pause just before the top of the handstand push-up or just before you reach the top of the handstand. Then compose yourself, take out all the mobility, and then just ride that up to the top of it. So once if you do that, I just sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Look at all this hair. Sit down. So if I come down to the bottom, now I do this. So I'm using overbalance to help me out. I need to pause here, show control, and then push up to my handstand. So I changed the energy from falling towards overbalance to pushing up and extending and lengthening. That way I can catch the handstand. You might even need to bring it back slightly towards underbalance to help you out. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to disappear. Time has got on. I need to get ready for school pickup. So I'll put that community post up. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Thumbs up. It really does help the channel out. I have my app. I have my memberships on YouTube if you'd like to support the channel in any way. I'll put that community post up. So if you do have any questions that I don't get to, or if you comment on any of my other videos and I miss the comments just because I don't see them all, send the message there and I'll make sure that I hit all those questions. And if I get too many questions for a live, I'll do a separate video for it. But I'll put that community post up now in a second. So it's there if you do have any other questions. And keep training, keep safe, and I will speak to you soon. Cheers, guys.